Our coverage this evening. Developing now, landowners who live near the proposed route of a carbon capture pipeline told state leaders today the proximity of that pipeline is what worried them. During the second day of testimony during the Iowa Utility Board's hearing into the Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline, landowners continued to state their objections to the proposed route. Summit needs the IUB to sign off on permits so it can build and operate the pipeline through Iowa. One landowner who has several parcels of land along the pipeline's route said it would come a little too close to his home.
From the pipeline to our home, as I wheeled it off with my real estate, actually, maybe I forgot to mention my wife and I are both licensed real estate agents. It's 600 feet. And then from there going to the northwest to my neighbor's home is about 1,000 feet.
Iowa's Renewable Fuels Association says Summit is different from other major companies looking at Iowa agriculture.
I think we're dealing with quality companies here who have a footprint in Iowa. That to me is something that's very overlooked by some of the people who have concerns. Again, I can't predict the future, but you're not dealing with some entity that's headquartered somewhere else and has no other interest in the state of Iowa. All of these projects are partnering with Iowa-based companies, Iowa owners, Iowa farmers. These are going to be our neighbors.
Testimony will continue tomorrow in Fort Dodge. The hearing could last several weeks. Summit will present its case for the project after the landowners testify. Each day's proceedings are streamed live online. To watch, check out the link at ktiv.com. And if eminent domain can be used by Summit to acquire the private land needed for its project from those who don't sign voluntary easements. On News 4 Today this morning, Iowa Ag Secretary talked about carbon capture pipelines and whether eminent domain should be used for the projects.
Carbon capture, carbon sequestration, lowering the carbon intensity of ethanol, biodiesel, anything that we're doing in ag is a good thing. And there's value in that from an economic standpoint. But what we're talking about here is really that eminent domain land use piece of this. And that's the balancing act, right? You've got something that can be very good for ethanol, but at its core, you're talking about private property rights and land use. And we should pay great attention to that. Eminent domain should be rare. It should be used in cases where there's significant voluntary agreements in place. I think that applies here as well.
And to see the full sit-down interview with Secretary Nag, visit our website, ktiv.com.
From Siouxland